On this episode of Tips from the Top Floor, my guest Alan and I talk about attribution in photography and if that's more important for your business or for your ego. This episode is brought to you by discoverthetopfloor.com. Join us in 2018 on one of the many adventures to Ladakh, to Morocco, to Norway, or to the amazing northwest of Ireland. Share the photographic time of your life with like-minded people. Join as a professional to practice your craft at amazing locations, or join as an intermediate and learn new tricks while exploring some of the most photogenic places in the world. Find out more at discoverthetopfloor.com. This is Tips from the Top Floor, episode 791 for Thursday, September the 21st, 2017.
Tips from the top floor, tips from the top, alright, from the top floor.
Hey, hello and welcome. This is Chris Marquardt. You're listening to Tips from the Top Floor, the longest running photography show on the planet, coming to you from the Viewfinder Villa right outside the gates of Hanover in Germany. Today's a very special episode. I have a guest here, Alan Attridge of the Two Hosers podcast, and we are going to discuss attribution. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So
I've already started.
I've already started.
I'm sorry. It's like we've never done this before.
No, I haven't done this in a long time. So anyway, Alan, thanks for coming on the show. This is a rare treat to have you on Tips from the Top Floor. Alan Attridge from the Two Hosers podcast. And you just spent an entire, month traveling Germany? Is that right?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
But we swung up north, and we swung by Casa del Your House.
You stopped by the Viewfinder Villa. That was great. And you had a nice dinner with us. So
we did.
That was good. And then you got caught by the most beautiful northern German weather.
Yeah, no. Well, generally, when you go on vacation, you go south. That's what people do.
Well, I try to go to the Arctic, like very close to the North Pole. So,
right.
But yeah, most people will probably be drawn more towards the warmer pastures.
That's generally what we do. But we thought this year, hey, I hear good things about the north.
It's beautiful
Germany.
up here.
Is it?
It is.
Yeah, I enjoyed your house. Your house was nice. The weather was terrible.
But that's not the norm. You just had a bad stretch here.
Mm-hmm. Had a good time nonetheless.
So, well, you when you were here, we said, hey, we have to record.
It's been a while. Yeah,
get you back on the show. It has been a while. So, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I thought about this actually quite a long time ago. That I wanted to talk to you and ask your opinions. And then, of course, give you mine, the correct opinion on photo attribution, about getting credit, whether, if somebody uses your photo. Which
I think should be the norm in most circumstances.
Right, it should be.
But are you saying it isn't that way? Are you saying people don't do that?
I'm saying it's become increasingly rare that you get properly, I don't know how to say it, attributed, proper attribution.
You are the native speaker.
I know, but that's not even in my lexicon, that word. So lexicon is in my lexicon, though, ironically.
What triggered this? Why is that all of a sudden so important for you?
Well, that's kind of the point. It's not that important to me, but it used to be pretty standard, though. Like, especially if it was going to be printed in the newspaper, or some institution like that, which they don't really exist much anymore. The newspapers, they do, but not in the same way. But it used to be automatic. I think it was automatic if your photo was used in the newspaper.
I think that was the case, and especially in the times before the internet, it was. I think that there was a real a code of conduct, how to do this, and in quotes, the old way of journalism. I think it was, I guess, pretty standard to give attribution, to have the name of the photographer on the photo, and I would think that most journalistic publications these days do it still that way.
Most do. Some just do they forget? I don't think it's malicious when it comes to that, but it could be a number of reasons why it happens. But it's happened to me. You know, so when I
it
first
has
got to
happened
Germany,
to me too, yeah.
Oh, and so I first got to Germany 10 years ago, and not long after I got here, actually, one of the Schwäbische Tagblatt used one of my photos in a story they ran.
Oh, cool.
And they even paid me.
How did you get it in there?
I forget. I didn't really speak the language, so there's a lot of moving parts.
Okay.
But somebody they needed it for a story on a school or something like that, and I'd taken some. Anyway, I gave them the photo. And I just said, "Yeah, here you go. You can go ahead and use it," because I understand, you know, the business. And they said, "Oh, we pay you for it," and I think it was 25 euros.
Hmm.
And so basically, I think they ended up paying the school, and I just said, "Well, you guys use it for a field, whatever you use it for." That wasn't the issue. But they printed, sure enough, build in German, right? Mm-hmm. Build and put my name down, and it's great. Since then, it's happened where they basically just use it for free, which I'm kind of okay with.
You mean the same publication using the same photo? No,
Different photo,
same publication,
and
they knew where the photo was from.
I would maybe. I can't say.
The question, and that is not an excuse for an organization. I mean, I think they have a duty to do some research and find out who the photo is from. But I've noticed, and I think everyone has that, a lot of places, a lot of photos just get used. They're found online. There's at least for non-professionals, there's a kind of an implicit understanding that, oh, I found it on the internet, it's free. Right. And then just use it and post it on their accounts and so on. And that has happened to me. In some cases, it hasn't happened, but I actually facilitated it on purpose. We can talk about this in a minute.
The using the free part.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I've done that myself. And I kind of, in certain circumstances, I do that. So for putting aside the argument about, you know, should photos be free or people use them for free, or what if somebody steals your photo, which I don't even want to check and see if someone has stolen my photo, because if they haven't, that's just kind of embarrassing. If no one's ever stolen your photo, you better take up another sport.
There's a whole trying to do the research on that. So here's what I've done. I have a lot of my photos on Flickr, like some of the stuff that's not necessarily my like best portfolio material, but just general stuff that I'm very happy with and I'm happy to show in public. And Flickr is still one of my go-to places to just put stuff on. And if you go to Flickr, my name is Nubui, Nubui there. You'll find a whole ton of albums of different things, and most of those have a Creative Commons license, which means, yeah, sure, go ahead, use them, just not in a commercial context.
Right.
And give me attribution. That's the two conditions that I've put on them. So if people honor those conditions, then I will get attribution, and they won't print it on t-shirts and sell them.
Now, what if they don't? I mean, forget the printing and selling. Like, that's a whole nother issue. But what if they don't give you attribution? How far do you want to push it?
Well, I had a few cases in the past where actually listeners of this podcast have pointed me to the photo being used in some context, and it was never in a real commercial context. So it has never happened to me that someone did download something and then print it in a t-shirt. One of the reasons for that is that the resolutions that I put them on are not 5,000 pixels, but maybe 1,500 pixels or 2,000 pixels at max.
Right.
So I try to kind of limit that use at least a little bit. And it really hasn't happened to me, at least I haven't found out. So no one has printed them on big canvas and sold them in stores. The usage that I found in other places, or that I was pointed to, because I do not actively search for that, was typically on other blogs. Like someone doing something about polar bears and then putting one of my photos from my account on there.
Without attribution. Without attribution.
And someone saw it and recognized it and sent me an email. I was like, look, there's a photo of you. Great. It was more, it wasn't an email like, oh, look, someone stole your photo. It's more like, oh, awesome, someone's using your photo. So I looked there and I sent an email and said, I would really appreciate to at least get attribution for this. Here's the license. And if you take one of those photos off Flickr, there's a link to the according Creative Commons license. And Creative Commons has rules on how to do attribution. So you'd have to name the license, and you'd have to put a link to the license and to the origin or to the origin and so on. And in the few cases that has really happened, it was always followed on by those people. It wasn't like go away. It was more like, oh, oops, sorry, I didn't know that.
Sure. So I've gone the other way with it. I've decided not to care. I legitimately do not care about attribution. I would like it. I mean, I think it should. I believe it should happen. It's the right way to do. Mm-hmm. The right way to do things. But I've kind of accepted the fact that that's not the way it works anymore. And I've just said, okay, enough. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Nobody's ever opened, page 9 of the Schwäbische Tagblatt, seen my name, and then offered me a job.
But on the other hand, if your goal is to become famous for your photography, to become well known for your photography, then attribution is kind of a key. I think it used to be a key. I think the entire paradigm has been shattered. With blogs, with everything. There's just, to me right now, there are too many outlets, too many quote unquote photographers, too many cameras, too many camera phones. Like that ship has kind of sailed. And I think you're partially right there, because just looking at the sheer amount of photos that come that go online every day, we're talking billions. So mm-hmm. It is crazy, and the amount of stuff that's out there, which is why a few of my photos I have actually given into the public domain. There's a platform. Have you ever heard of Unsplash?
I have not.
Unsplash.com is a platform that pretty much they say, okay, whatever you put on here is going to be free for download. It'll be nice to give attribution, but you don't even have to. So you can just mm-hmm. use that stuff. And I've put a few up there. And interestingly enough, a couple of those photos have received, like, I don't know, some front page, they were on the Unsplash front page for a while, and one of them has received, I don't know, 600,000 likes or something. I mean, real huge amount of visibility. Mm-hmm. And I've taken that picture and I've plugged it into Google image search to kind of get an idea how many hundreds of times this has been used on other places. And Google image search is fairly okay. It's fairly good at finding where your photos have been used. And out of those 600,000 like clicks, I think the photo was actually used or found on Google image search maybe 5 times.
Wow.
So that kind of tells me something about about how much stuff is out there, so that your stuff just kind of has, I mean, you really have to be visible in other places than just with your photography if you want to be known as a photographer.
That's what I choose to focus my attention on. I'm not just throwing this to the wind and saying, forget it, walk away. But what I found is I get a much better return if I focus my attention on important relationships.
And come on very important podcasts.
Well, that too.
that's the goal.
That's step one. But for example, I took
famous.
Yeah, right. I took a photo it was a year. It was last year. I took a photo of one of our fellow podcasters, Adam Carolla. You've had a business relationship with him for a while now. I've worked with him on a few projects, and was in England at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, the hill climb last year.
Okay, working
on a project, online series, but I was there to shoot video. But obviously, I brought my still camera with me. Well, that's what I was shooting with. But I brought a flash and brought a couple things I wanted to snap a photo of him in his racing suit. And I did. So in between races, I grabbed him and said, hey Adam, how about I snap a photo? And he said, yeah, great. And so we just kind of found a quiet spot and quickly snapped a photo and moved on. But I knew what I wanted to do with it.
That's a pretty cool photo.
Well, thank you. But
he looks very heroic.
That was the plan. Well, he's racing Paul Newman's car. I mean, so you know that's half of it. But I knew I wanted to have a photo for him, not even for me, but for him, and just to give to him. We didn't speak about usage. We didn't speak about attribution. I basically had 60 seconds to shoot this before his next race. I expected to get nothing directly from that image. I didn't expect any money. They had paid me to go and shoot the video, but this was an aside. I just took him aside and said, let's do this. He didn't argue. I didn't ask for anything. I expected nothing. But it has since been used a number of times. I don't even know how many times. I see it pop up now and then because he collects race cars. He goes in these races, and so whenever some online or whoever publication does a story about him, this photo gets used.
Do you get attribution?
No.
But
I don't care, because in the end, the guy who's writing the story on the online, what have you, whatever it is, it's a blog, it's whatever we're calling it, and even the readers, those guys, the readers of that, they're not going to phone me and say, hey, yeah, can you take a picture of me like that? That's not the business I'm in.
Well, if anything, the photo will probably strengthen your relationship with Adam Carolla, because every time a story about him goes out and the photo is used, he will be reminded of that moment when you took the photo. He won't have forgotten that.
That's the attribution I go for. You know, and so when I took the photo, after I took the photo and he saw it like the next day or whenever I gave it to him, he paid me what I would consider to be like the best compliment I could get. He was impressed with the photo. He liked it, and that was great. But more importantly, he said, but especially how quickly I took the photo. He said it was less than a minute.
You had the setup already there.
I had it already. No. It was handheld flash.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I had his assistant, not his business manager, hold it off camera. I basically shot it like I knew in my head how I was going to shoot this.
Right.
So walked in, basically had him hold the strobe off camera. Pointed at Adam, pointed just past Adam's face. There you go. And the rest was I just shot. And I think I shot three images. We used one of them. That was great. And that, to him, the guy who's got lots to do, he didn't want to see, some guy fumbling around with his camera. Oh, wait, one more to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. It was, boom, we're done. See you later. He liked the photo. And now, he and I have a relationship based on that. And that is much. And now I've been, like I said, I've been paid for the video work I do. And even got a credit, like when it comes to attribution, I ended up getting a great credit on one of his movies called The 24-Hour War, which was, I didn't even talk about credit. I went and shot for him in Italy and in at Goodwood, and never even discussed with him or the producers what my credit would be. Just kind of walked away and said, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. No one's gonna see the movie and think, who's the B-roll cameraman? But Adam knows, and anytime he ever needs somebody in Europe again or wherever, he's going to call me.
I'll try at least to make it easy for people to credit me if they so wish. And one of the ways to do this is to have all the metadata in the photo. I mean, you can set all the IPTC data in Lightroom, for example, including your name and your email address and your web address and your phone number and stuff. That then gets embedded in the photo before you send it to someone. And then if they want, they can find that information. Or if they give it to a publication, they will definitely have an easy way to find that information. So I'll make sure that the photo is at least properly attributed in the metadata.
I'm not trying to hobble people. If they want to credit me, great. It is much better. It's a shortcut. So if somebody does see it, or you want to point someone in that direction and say, yeah, I took that here, you see my name's right on it. It is very helpful. I'm just trying to be realistic in the world that we live in and say, look, I got bigger fish to fry. I'll focus on these relationships. I even saw the photo pop up at a conference that he did with Shaquille O'Neal, and they both had their giant banners up. And his banner was the one I did, and Shaquille's was some inferior product. So there you go, Shaq.
You know, I think it's more important to have a good portfolio and then use that if you want to attract a client. I have also rarely, if not, I don't think any time been contacted by someone who said, I saw your photo there and there, and I would like to hire you because of that. But as soon as I talk to someone, I'm in discussions with a company that does polar cruises and polar expeditions. And I have that portfolio of pictures from Greenland, from Svalbard, from the Arctic in general. So I have that material and I can pull that out anytime. So that is for me more important, because when I'm in discussions with someone, yeah, I can just show them. It's like, here, have a look. And
right.
That is way more convincing. Now, of course, I have this online as well. I think that's important too. It needs to be found. It needs to be tagged properly. It needs to be titled properly so that it can be found in a Google image search, for example. Mm-hmm. That goes down to the file name, by the way, because Google will also use the actual file name such and such .jpg as a signal to put you in the right search results. And then a lot of people will go to an image search and they will, for example, search for polar bear pictures, and then you have a better chance for yours to come up. And I don't know if Google also takes the metadata, the IPTC data, as a signal, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Well, I'm sure they're storing it somewhere.
Probably.
Probably. On the flip side of this, though, there's you who I mean, when you deal with professional photographers, the first question is, hey, how do I credit you for a photo?
Sure.
So you used one that I had snapped on film, that you used it in your book. Yours and Monica's book. Mm-hmm. And you insisted that I said, don't worry about it.
You were kind of waving it off, and as I brushing it off, I said, no need to do that. But I'm a photographer myself, so
sure.
of course I credit others if it's possible.
And again, that's great. I appreciate you taking the time, but in the end, none of the people who bought the book look at that and think, wow, that chair photo made this book. But you remember it.
It's a very important part of the book for sure.
Of course it is. It should be the cover, but that's a different conversation.
The book would have fallen apart without the photo.
Well, just would have had a tiny blank spot in that one page only. I think it would have been all right. But obviously, it's a work of art, no question. However, again, it's my relationship with you, where you remember, oh yeah, that Alan does that. If I need a guy to shoot a chair photo, I know who to go to.
You're my chair photographer from now on.
Important to be that go-to guy.
The go-to chair photographer. I think that should be the title of this episode.
The go-to, yeah. That's a good one. I want attribution for the title, though. But if anyone's listening who's trying to rip off photos, which I'm guessing is not the case, I'm guessing most of your listener base are photographers and not photo thieves.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, but in case you are, we're not giving you carte blanche here to just go ahead and behave how you want. You're still misbehaving. You just understand that I'm not going to focus on it anymore.
There's this guy who has a ton of macro photos out there. Mm-hmm. And that's his thing. A lot of, I think, insect shots and stuff. And he has made a real good living by going after people who just use his photos and squeeze money out of them.
Does he also shoot snowflakes?
No.
Because that guy does it too.
Oh, really?
Don, who's been on, Don Komarechka, who's been on your show, been on our show.
Okay.
He does quite well, actually.
Well, the insect guy, I don't remember his name, but he pretty much has a lawyer working for him, and spends a significant amount of time with sending letters to people.
Don has such a one photo he has is just phenomenal that I wish I had thought of it. He has a photo taken in the snow of maple leaves forming a Canadian flag.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, of course I have. Yeah.
And you've probably seen it everywhere too, because, especially every, July 1st, Canada Day, it makes the rounds on the internet. People just steal it and share it, right? But the amount of work that he had to put in for that photo, it looks simple. It wasn't. I know it wasn't. I've talked to him about it. And, so for people to go out there and steal that, but he ends up doing quite well on that and his other snowflake photos, that he tracks down.
Whole lot of work though.
It can be. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. I also prefer to concentrate on other things, preparing new photo tours and stuff like that.
That's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time seeking attribution. Better to stand out and keep moving forward.
Wow. Deep words. Deep words from Tübingen. All right. Alan, thank you so much for coming here. That was...
Well, thanks for letting me ramble.
It was both of us rambling. No, it was enlightening. It was cool. I like it. Okay. Where do people find you?
You can find us at twohosers.com. That's where you can go to find our show.
That's, by the way, the podcast. If a lot of people, I often get emails from people saying, "Oh, I heard you on the Tech Guy show, and do you have like a good resource for a beginning photographer?" And the Two Hosers is like a treasure trove of great information. So I regularly send people there.
I appreciate that. No, if you are starting out, it's a great place to learn. You can go back, start at episode 1. We build it up as a sort of as a knowledge pyramid. That was the plan. Build a solid base. And the guy I do the show with, my partner Adam, he started out as a physiotherapist who had never even opened up a camera box before.
You pretty much teach him photography on the show.
Every week he would learn something new, and so now I can't believe it, we're almost coming up on 7 years, and so he's actually been paid. He's still a physiotherapist, but he actually has been paid to take photos on occasion. So he's getting good. He can use up to 6 lights at once. So,
that is quite an achievement, to be honest.
Yeah. He even has a beauty dish. That's how far along he's got. He's got a beauty dish and a studio strobe.
Okay, everyone who wants to find out what a beauty dish is, twohosers.com is a great place to find that.
Check us out.
Awesome. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes this episode of Tips from the Top Floor. Thank you so much for being around. Oh, by the way, I completely forgot. Thanks all for posting your pictures with the hashtag TFTTF right now. I'm a bit concerned that there are too many shots from driving cars from behind the steering wheel. Hey guys, I said if it's safe. Yeah, but then you're all grown up, so still be safe. Music for the show by Jeff Smith, silent partner Hans-Peter Gagwood, publishing by Release Pixie Map, Rhapsody Armstead, Slack invitations by CIO Russ. And if you want to join the discussion on the Slack, hey, go to tfttf.com/yslack, WHYSLACK, and find out a bit more. My name's Chris Marquardt. Follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at Chris Marquardt, Chris MARQUARDT. And of course, go out and take amazing photos. Be nice to each other. And happy shooting.